this is a 2007. So this is my first red blend.
Okay.
This is called Solstice, and this is the sister, obviously, to the Summer Solstice. 2007, so another hot vintage, another great vintage in Niagara. And you can tell by the wine, it does have a little bit of age, or you can tell by the cork, I should say, it does have a little bit of age. It is a deeply stained cork.
Let's get a shot of that for the viewers here.
Absolutely.
So you can see the cork there. It's definitely got some deep color. And it fades way down the middle there. Good stuff.
Yeah. So the wine itself is a blend, and it's again all estate grown fruit from this farm, which is called Lot 31. We had two farms in 2007 up until this year. One called Lot 31, which is the home to the oldest Cabernet Sauvignon vines, and home to all those old planted varietals that I mentioned before.
Right.
Lot 66, which we've just recently sold, were older vines, but not as old as these particular ones. The fruit that went into the Solstice was all from Lot 31, so all from 30-plus-year-old vines.
Right. Let's get a shot of the label there.
Yeah.
And your single varietals. When you out in the tasting bar there, some of the Cabs Sauvignons, they say a different lot on there. Maybe we can just get into that later. They seem to be the more expensive wines. So, is that again because the fruit is older
for the Cab Sauv?
Yeah, for the lot series you have for sale.
Yeah, well, the Lot 66 and Lot 31 Cab Sauvs in 2007 I created those as a tribute to John Marynissen after he passed away.
Right. So those wouldn't be available anymore after 2007?
They're actually, no, it was only created for 2007.
Okay.
When they were released,
so a little bit of a collector's
it was 2009, yeah. If you could find any anywhere. We have 0 left of the Lot 31, and we have about maybe 30 cases of Lot 66. Currently not for sale. Those are sitting in our library until the owners feel that it's ready to re-release. But those particular wines were made as a tribute to John, because he was the pioneer that planted Cab Sauv back in '78, and those particular wines were. We use those as a kind of a fundraiser. We donated $1 from every bottle to the new hospital creation. That was
John's. That's fantastic. Yeah,
that was John's dream, or his charity of choice.
Right.
When he was alive. So we carried on the tradition and donated we donated $25,000 to the hospital.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very generous of the Marynissen family for sure. And. But anyway, back to this particular wine. This is again a blend. So it's a blend of Merlot, Syrah, and Cabernet Sauvignon. So the Merlot is about 53%, the Syrah is 25%, and the Cab Sauv is 22% of the blend.
All right. So let's get into the wine here.
Let's taste her. This is a really good example of a food wine. A wine that you want to have with a nice steak, or with a roast, or something like some protein of some sort. Really nice with hard cheeses.
Almost smells like a meatiness to it.
Yeah, it has a real meatiness to it for sure. A lot of that's the Syrah. Syrah in the area, we're going to taste a Syrah in a little bit. The next wine. Syrah in Niagara is you're going to probably jump ahead a bit here. But,
sure.
Actually, maybe I'll hold that off until we... So this wine has a real meatiness to it. It has there's a herbalness, not a herbaceousness, but a herbalness. There's that what's called traditional in southern France. It's called garrigue. It's the smell of lavender and thyme, and rosemary, and all those sage.
Okay.
Real wild herb smells.
You do get that. Yeah, you get all that what you just described. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's this is probably one of my favorite blends. I mean, we do a couple of different blends, but this is probably the one that I drink the most at home for dinner with with a steak.
Yeah, I get meatiness, pepper. I get all the herbs you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Again, really nice dry tannins. The body's there. It's medium to full bodied instead of medium to light bodied, which I like a lot. Beautiful wine. Yeah, it's incredible.
Again,
yeah. We're shot here.
You know, the one thing about this as well, there is and I guess one of the interesting things is 2007 was such a hot, dry vintage that all the fruit from that year tended to be really overblown, and there was a lot of really great wines produced in 2007, but a lot of wines in 2007 didn't or haven't aged as well as people had hoped.
Right.
And the primary reason for that, I believe, is that for a wine to age longer, you need a strong backbone of acidity, but you also need to have a fair amount of tannin. When this wine was first produced, the wine wasn't really well received from critics, wine writers. Some public got it and some people didn't.
Right.
Because it was such a hugely tannic wine.
It was so tannic at first. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And it's now sort of coming into its own. I mean, you can still taste the tannin, you can still feel the tannin in your mouth, but it's really becoming a well-integrated wine. And it's a wine that now is showing the character that I'd hoped it would show when I first put it together.
For sure. So meaning critics don't really mean they don't know anything.
No, I'm not saying that.
So I just want to get a shot, a little bit of what you're saying there, Jeff. Yeah. And maybe the tannins, if you see, maybe go into this a little bit. It says on the bottle there that it's unfiltered. Mm-hmm. And so if a wine is unfiltered, it's typical, right, to get sediment in the bottle, right? And maybe would you get a harsher wine then, in your opinion, if it was unfiltered?
Harshness, I would say, not so much.
Is this maybe why the critics got it wrong, or no?
Well, I'll answer. It's two-part question, really, a two-part answer, I should say. All the wines, all the red wines I do here, apart from Gamay, are produced unfiltered, meaning that I don't fine filter them. I don't filter them just before bottling. And what happens when you fine filter is that you remove a lot of the large particle anthocyanins and polyphenols in the wine that are those are the things in the wine that help the wine to age. So those would be the tannins,
right? Yeah.
Some of the proteins, some of the acids as well, and the anthocyanins, which are the color pigments. And when you filter them through fine filter pads or through fine filtration, you remove a lot of that, and it makes the wine much easier to drink immediately.
Right, earlier.
But but down the road, the wine tends to I won't say die, but it tends to fade off a lot quicker. Yeah. And so with a wine that's unfiltered, I'm leaving in a lot of that component that helps to make that wine great down the road, but it also leaves a lot of the polyphenols in it that are flavor components.
Right. Yeah.
And that make that wine maybe a little bit more juicy, maybe a little bit more meaty or whatever.
Yeah, more complete.
Complex,
I think people respect that. I know when I see a wine that's been unfiltered, I always think that, hey, like you said, doing the punch downs, the less you handle the wine, like you want to be in there handling it, but the less that you do artificially with it, the better.
Yeah.
So when I see that you'd have to respect that it's unfiltered. Give it some time in the bottle for the tannins to dissipate.
Absolutely.
Right, the wine to come together. Because right now it's definitely come together. It's beautiful. It's a really, really nice wine, and that does still feel to me like it could age for a long time.
If you want this wine to be aged, this particular wine has the character, the backbone that will enable that wine to age probably I would say for another 10 years.
You're right.
Comfortably. We do have lots of wines in our cellar here from the early years, 1990, 1991.
2002, was that a good year?
2002? Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Fantastic year,
Yeah.
Much like 2007 as well,
Right.
very similar.
Yeah, I had a 2002 last night actually that was blew me away, and how structured it was and how dry it still was. You know, it was mellow and nice, but it was still very structured. So, yeah. You know what I get? You're talking about the flavors when it's unfiltered. I do get a little bit of the, like earthiness in there, right, on the finish. It's, I don't know if that's, people say barnyard or soil or yeah. So it adds to the richness, complexity, definitely of the fruit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great wine.